Did you know that someone once told Johnny Depp he'd never make it in Hollywood? Yeah, hard to believe, right? Especially when you look at him now. At 62, he's still one of the most fascinating stars in the world. He's done it all. Fame, fortune, success, but he's also faced things that would break most people. But let's be honest, have you ever felt like the world just didn't understand you? Like no matter how hard you tried, it still knocked you down again and again? If you've ever been there, even just once, then Johnny's story might feel oddly familiar, because his life isn't just about being a movie star, it's about surviving everything. Behind the movie roles and red carpets, there's a man who's been through some really dark times, and somehow, through it all, he's still standing, still creating, still inspiring people all over the world. In this video, we're going to take you through his life like you've never heard it before. The heartbreak, the struggles, the comebacks. We'll show you how he made it to 62, not just surviving, but turning his pain into something powerful. And stick around till the end. There's a part of Johnny most people don't even know about, and it might just change the way you see him forever. Let's go back to the beginning. Johnny wasn't born famous. He was just a kid growing up in Owensboro, Kentucky. His family later moved to Florida. He had a rough childhood. His home life was far from easy. His parents argued a lot. There was stress, tension, and not a lot of peace. At times, it felt like there was no escape. By the time he was a teenager, Johnny had already been through more than most people. He found comfort in music. That was his outlet. He got his first guitar when he was 12, and he taught himself how to play. Music gave him a way to express what he was feeling. He started playing in garage bands. It was his escape from the chaos around him, and then something huge happened. He dropped out of school at just 16, not to chase fame, not for attention, but because life just felt too heavy. School didn't feel like it mattered when he was already dealing with real life. He wanted to focus on music. That was his dream. Acting wasn't even part of the plan. That came later, almost by accident. A friend introduced him to Nicolas Cage, and Cage suggested he try acting. That's when things started to shift. But Johnny was never your typical actor. He didn't want the big, flashy roles. He didn't want to be just another Hollywood heartthrob. He turned down a lot of mainstream stuff. Instead, he chose roles that were weird, emotional, or just completely different from what everyone else was doing. Remember Edward Scissorhands? That wasn't just a role for Johnny. That was a reflection of how he felt inside. Awkward, misunderstood, different. It was like he was showing the world, hey, being different is okay, and people connected with that. Over the years, Johnny built a career that was completely his own. He wasn't following a script. He wasn't trying to be anyone else. He played pirates, Mad Hatters, gangsters, even chocolate factory owners, and through it all, he stayed true to himself. But fame isn't always as glamorous as it looks. For Johnny, it came with a lot of pain. His personal life started to spiral. There were messy relationships, headlines, rumors. The media was relentless. They loved building him up just so they could tear him down. And then came one of the most difficult chapters of his life. The legal battles, the court cases, the headlines that seemed to never stop. Suddenly, everyone had an opinion. Studios dropped him. People turned their backs. It felt like everything he had worked so hard for was slipping away. But here's what's remarkable. He never tried to play the victim. He didn't go on talk shows or beg for sympathy. He just stayed quiet. He focused on his art, on his music, on the small things that still brought him peace. In 2022, the whole world watched that courtroom battle, but something different happened during that time. People saw a side of Johnny they hadn't seen before. He was raw, real, vulnerable, not the movie star. Just a man who had been through a lot. By 2023, things began to shift. He returned to directing. He started working with Dior again. He walked onto stages with a guitar and a quiet confidence. It wasn't loud, it wasn't flashy, but it said everything. It said, I'm still here. And now at 62, he's not chasing the spotlight anymore. He's not looking for the next blockbuster. He's living life on his own terms. He spends time in quiet places. He surrounds himself with people who care about him, not because he's famous, but because they see the real Johnny. He paints. He plays music, he writes. Sometimes he just disappears for a while and lives like a normal guy. No cameras, no pressure, just peace. People who know him say that he finds happiness in simple things, like listening to old blues records, or cooking for friends, or sketching in his notebook while jazz plays in the background. He's learned how to turn pain into something beautiful. He once said, "You use your pain as fuel. You turn it into something beautiful." That one line kind of sums him up perfectly, doesn't it? And here's something most people don't know. He's been mentoring young artists. Not for the fame, not for attention, just to help, quietly, behind the scenes, because he remembers what it was like to feel lost, to feel like you didn't belong. Johnny Depp's story isn't just about fame, it's about strength. It's about what happens when the world pushes you to the edge, and you choose not to fall. You choose to keep going, even when it's hard, even when no one's clapping. He's proof that you don't have to be perfect to survive. You just have to be honest, and you have to keep creating. Keep doing what makes you feel alive. So now, here he is, 62 years old, not trying to be anyone else, not trying to win anyone back, just living, creating, laughing, learning. Still that. Same guy who once dropped out of school with a guitar and a dream, and through it all, one thing has stayed the same: his love for art. Whether it's music, acting, painting, or just telling stories, he's never stopped creating. That's his true north. He doesn't care about trends or critics anymore. He's been through enough to know that those things come and go. But what stays is the work, the art, the connection, and that's what he's focused on now. Johnny Depp isn't chasing a comeback. And honestly, he doesn't need to, because he already came back, just not in the way most people expected. There wasn't some huge box office hit, no viral moment that suddenly flipped the narrative, no dramatic public stunt. His comeback wasn't loud, it was quiet, steady, powerful. He did it by simply being himself, by choosing peace instead of noise, by showing up as the same thoughtful, creative soul he's always been. He didn't need to prove anything to anyone. He just needed to reconnect with what mattered: his art, his music, his peace of mind. And in today's world, that might be the most powerful kind of comeback there is. He's not trying to be everywhere. He's not posting every second of his life or trying to trend online. He's just living, breathing, creating, spending time in places where the cameras don't follow, with people who actually care, not because he's Johnny Depp, the actor, but because he's Johnny, the human being. It's rare to see someone walk away from the noise and not look back. But that's what he's done. Not out of defeat, but out of clarity. He's already seen the highs and lows of fame. He knows how quickly people can turn, how fast the spotlight can blind you, and how healing often begins when the spotlight fades. So, what about you? Yeah, you watching this right now? Have you ever been in that place where life just hit you hard and you didn't know if you could keep going? Maybe you felt alone. Maybe people doubted you. Maybe you doubted you. But something deep inside refused to give up. A small spark that said, "Not yet. I'm not done." That quiet strength, the kind you don't always show but always carry, that's what Johnny's story taps into. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just a Hollywood story. It's a human one. It's about feeling misunderstood, about facing judgment, about being told you're done and choosing to rise anyway. Not with a loud roar, but with quiet courage. And that makes us wonder, what lesson did you take from Johnny's journey? Maybe it's the idea that healing doesn't have to be public, that you don't owe anyone an explanation while you figure things out. Or maybe it's that your identity isn't defined by your mistakes or by what people say about you. You're allowed to grow, to change, to disappear for a while and come back stronger. Whatever spoke to you, we'd love to hear it, seriously. Share your story in the comments. It might be a few lines or maybe a bit longer. But don't underestimate how powerful your words can be, because someone else might be reading them at just the right moment. Someone who needs that reminder that they're not alone. And hey, if this video resonated with you even just a little, if it made you think or feel or see someone differently, stick around. This channel isn't just about celebrities. It's about people, real people, with real pain, real joy, and real stories. Stories like Johnny's remind us of something really important, something we often forget. That strength doesn't always show up the way we expect it to. It doesn't always look like applause or awards or a life that's polished and perfect. Sometimes strength is just getting out of bed in the morning when your heart feels heavy. Sometimes it's showing up quietly, even when everything inside you feels broken. Johnny's story is about exactly that. It's about survival. Quiet, gritty, day-by-day survival. It's about having the world misunderstand you, even vilify you, and still holding on to some part of yourself, still choosing not to give in, still choosing to believe that there's something worth fighting for, even if no one else sees it but you. That kind of story? It hits different. It's not just about fame. It's not even about being a celebrity. It's about being human. It's about going through something hard, something painful, and coming out on the other side, not necessarily stronger in the way people expect, but more real, more grounded, more at peace with who you are. It's not glamorous, it's not flashy, but it's honest, and that honesty is what makes it powerful. That's the kind of content we care about here, the raw kind, the stuff that doesn't sugarcoat reality, the stories that let us feel things we don't always talk about, pain, doubt, redemption, quiet growth. So if that's the kind of thing you're drawn to, if you find comfort in seeing the truth behind the curtain, then you're in the right place. Stick around, because our next video, it dives into a whole other side of fame that barely gets talked about, a side most people avoid, a side full of sacrifice, silence, and slow, unglamorous healing. It's a story that might make you feel seen, or maybe just a little less alone. Now, we get it. This is the part of the video where most people tune out. The part where creators ask you to hit like and subscribe. But if you're still watching, we know you're not most people. So hear us out. If something in this story moved you, even for just a moment, tap that like button. Not for the algorithm, but for the message, for the story, for the human connection that happens when we share something real. Because every like, every share, every comment, it's not just numbers on a screen, it's a signal, a sign that someone else out there gets it too. That this story mattered to someone other than us. And if you haven't subscribed yet, maybe now's the time. Not because it's the trendy thing to do, but because it helps us keep telling stories like this. Stories that don't fit into perfect boxes. Stories that aren't always easy to hear, but that are worth hearing. When you subscribe, you're not just clicking a button. You're joining a community, a space for people who see beyond the surface, people who aren't here for the gossip or the clicks or the noise, but for the truth, for the heart of it all. And don't be shy. Drop a comment. Even if it's short, even if it's just, "This hit home," or "I've been there," or even, "Thanks for telling this story." Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. You never know who you're helping just by being honest. Because at the end of the day, it's not just the stories that matter, it's the people who connect with them. People like you, people who listen, who feel deeply, who care. So thank you for showing up, for being part of this space, for giving your time and your attention to something real. In a world that moves so fast, where everything feels like it's about being louder, flashier, more popular, just listening to someone's truth, that's rare, and it means more than we can say. This space we're building, it's not about perfection. It's about connection, about letting people be messy, flawed, brave, beautiful in ways that don't always look beautiful on the outside. And we want you to be part of that. Because we need more people who get it, who aren't afraid to feel something, who don't scroll past the pain or the truth, but who stop for a second and see it. And finally, if there's one thing we hope you take away from this, it's this: stay kind. Even when kindness feels like the hardest choice, stay strong. Even when you feel anything but strong. And most of all, stay weird. Yeah, weird. Because weird means you're not trying to fit in. You're not hiding who you are. You're not shrinking yourself down to match someone else's version of normal. You're owning your story. You're embracing your scars. You're saying, "This is me. Take it or leave it." And that's what the world needs more of. Not more filters, not more fakes, not more perfection, more real, more truth. More you, just like Johnny. So wherever you are right now, whatever you're going through, just know you're not alone. Your story matters. You matter. We're glad you're here, and we can't wait to keep sharing more stories with you. See you in the next video.